Okay, I'm breaking in, Rabbi. Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg and his Genesis class. We've been going at this north of a year. It's always a joy to be with people from all around the globe on the Zoom room, and you folks out there in Facebook and YouTube and all of social media. Feel free to share these. Check out previous episodes. He's shared so much with us out of the book of Genesis concerning what the Hebrew people have to share with the 70 nations of the world. So let's just jump right in and see how the rabbi's doing today. Rabbi Goldberg, always good to be with you, and I am overjoyed.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's a good evening from Jerusalem. Everything is fine here. We have a bit of a interesting situation with the government. I don't know how much you know what's happening, but everything is fine. Maybe Benjamin Netanyahu, after 12 years, is not going to be the prime minister anymore. So it's a bit of a hassle here in Israel, but everything is fine. We are feeling good. Hope that everybody else is feeling good. Just to notice about today, we finished, and it's also related to Lara. I didn't saw her in the last few times here. She's catching up. We finished yesterday, and we published yesterday night, very late at night, also the Turkish Brit Shalom version. So we have another language out there. Beautiful. And then we had a new class that started with the Chinese people. Now it's a bit hard to have a class with the Chinese because the Chinese, if the government will know that they're doing a class with us, they might lose their life. But by the way, in the Chinese section, they're not losing only their life. First of all, they're starting to take from them all sorts of pieces from the body, and then they're killing them. So, oh my gosh. But, no, Chinese is a really unbelievable place. Not a good. I need to be careful with my words. And then we had a live pledge with a few languages inside the room.
Earlier,
from all over the world, but we had people in few languages, so it was also nice. And now we have this meeting, this usual meeting. So good to see you all. And let's start. Let's dive inside. Unfortunately, Lee won't be tonight, but I think that I prepared things, and we will manage to speak and to discuss also more and more things. So let's start. Tonight, if it's okay, let's start. We are in the middle of the journey of Abraham's journey. We said already more than once, he is moving to a journey to become a Hebrew man. Maybe we will also explain a bit this word in Hebrew. The word Hebrew in Hebrew have few connotations and few explanations. Okay, just like the word mitzvah that we had a discussion there. The word Hebrew is basically saying that he is moving from one step to another. Ma'avar. Ivri is a ma'avar, moving from one step to another. It is also that you are from the other side. Not only that you're moving, but you're also from the other side. Me'ever. So this word have, and it have also more understanding. At this point of time, until chapter 14, that we're going to go inside today, we never called Abraham as a Hebrew man.
Right.
Only in chapter 14, with your permission, I'm going to share the screen. Where it is. I think this is here. Okay, yes, here it is. Okay. In chapter 14, see, we came to chapter 14. We came to this chapter already. We have here, you see in verse number 13.
You want me to read it?
Yes, fugitive. How do you say it?
Fugitive. And the fugitive came and he told Abram, the Hebrew.
That's enough. At this point of time, that's enough. Abraham, the Hebrew. Okay, this is the first time that we call Abraham the Hebrew. Till now, we never called him. We never referred him to the Hebrew people. We said that he is doing a journey towards becoming a Hebrew, but we need to know what is happening or how it's happening. So I'm starting with reminding. Okay, let's remind ourselves in a few things. We have, first of all, Adam and Eve. You know what? Maybe I will show this one. Just a moment. There's a moment. Let me see if it's open. I think it's open. Here it is. Here it is. This is something that we've learned very, very long time ago, but I will show this to everybody. Let's do a present for that. No. It will be easier for us to understand what I'm going to say when you will see this this picture in front of you. Okay. So we have here, and this is something that we all know, we all remember. I hope so. When we spoke about the covenant of peace, when Noah came out from the ark, we explained that each person have 3 dimensions that he is relating to: human and God, human and friends, and human and him. Those are 3 different dimensions. One of the things that we explained is that
egg and cheese.
Sure. Daniel, if you could
half an hour.
mute your mic.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
Now we said that those 3 movements, okay, those 3 references that people need to deal with. And one of the things that we also said that if we will look deep inside to the 7 laws of Noah, we will see that they are basically going through those 3 relationships, okay? The knowledge of God, on God. This is human and God relationship, okay? To have the right way with the family. It's a relationship between man and himself. This time, this woman is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. So it's one part, human with himself. And not to take human life, it's human and his friends, okay? And if we'll deep inside to the next 3, we'll see that it's also related to those 3 levels, okay? Not to bless God, okay? Not to do blasphemy with God. This is human and God. Not to eat limb of a live animal. This is the way you start with giving patience to yourself, learning how to control yourself, and starting to put more moral in your behavior, not to behave like an animal. So it's human with himself. And the last one is the laws against robbery. This is human and his friends. So we have here basically 3 dimensions of connections between man and God, man with his fellow man, and man with himself. And the 7th law is that to judge everything, to build up a judicial system, so it will hold all of this way of those things. Why 7? Like this, the week of the, everything here in this world, we have 6 dimensions. We say left and right, forwards and backwards, up and down. So it's 6 dimensions, but each thing have a different identity. Okay, so this is a 7th. This is a Shabbat that we have. Fine. Let's look for a moment. Adam and Eve, they had one commandment to do, and it was related between men and God. God told them, don't eat from the forbidden tree, from the tree of knowledge. We already explained that it's the same tree and everything else. It depends on the attitude, everything is fine. I'm not going to go to this issue again, but they disobeyed the connection between human and God. So they were thrown out from Eden, from heaven, okay? And they are living now in this world. And in the next generation, from the next generation, after Adam and Eve, the main, I will say, the main relationship that is being tested is human and friends. So we see in the second generation that Cain and Abel are not managing together, and Cain is killing Abel. So human and his friend is failing. Okay, you see what's happening here? Fine. From there on, let's continue for a moment and let's speak about what is happening in the flood. What exactly was the big problem in the flood? So I will stop the share and we'll look for a moment in one of the verses, the most important verses about the flood, and we will see, and you will tell me, okay, what exactly was, no, it's end of 6, sorry. No, come on. What exactly was the main problem that happened there, okay? Please read verse number 11.
11. Now the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth became full of robbery.
Oh, robbery is between man and
Man.
his fellow man, right? And this is why they have been wiped off from this earth. So they did a very big mistake or very big problem between man and his fellow man. And they got a very big punishment because everybody was wiped there and everybody was, God replaced all of the humanity and started from the beginning with Noah and his sons. Let's jump for a moment to Babylon Tower. And we will see exactly what was the sin there, okay, with what they corrupted. And if we're reading this, we will see that it doesn't say anything very clear, but it's only saying one thing. And please read verse number 4 and 5.
4. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make ourselves a name, lest we be scattered upon the face of the entire earth. 5. And the Lord descended to see the city and the tower that the sons of men had built.
And it's not really clear, we spoke about this, but we understand that they are trying to make themselves a name upon heaven. So they have some sort of a rebellion against God. God have a name, and they're trying to do the same thing instead of God. Now they got less punishment. You know why they got less punishment? Because here in our world, God is testing or is valuing the behavior of men with more, I will say, it's more important for him that the behavior between men and his fellow men will be corrected than the connection between men and God. If there is a problem between men and God, he have much more patience for that. But when you have problem between men and his fellow men, like we had in the flood, God is saying, this is it. That's enough. We need to replace everything. Okay, so we need to realize this situation. This is one of the ways how to look at the things that's happening here. Now, after this Babylon tower, okay, we have all the people all the dynasties, after with Shem, okay, and Shem is the name of the third son of Noah, or the first one. So where do you read it? First son of Noah. This is the main dynasty that will continue on. One of his kids is Abel, okay? Abel is one of the kids of Shem. And we already said that he had born Peleg, and we explained that he had some sort, I will remind you all, okay? Let's see it for a moment in Rashi. Please read Rashi for that. I will show you what Rashi is read. It's not here. Sorry. Sorry, it's in the chapter before that. One of his sons were Peleg. Just a moment. Here it is. This is Shem, okay? Shem, who had a lot of sons and everything else. and one of his, here it is. And Abel were born 2 sons. One is named Peleg. Peleg in Hebrew is spread over, okay? Scattered over, okay? And please read, I will show you what exactly to read. You don't need to read everything.
Was divided. The tongues became confused, and they were scattered from the valley and were dispersed throughout the entire world. We learned that Eber was a prophet, since he named his son for a future event.
That's enough. No, that's enough. That's enough. The future event is that he is crying that we're all separated all over the world. So we have 2 things here. He is prophets, okay? He is a prophet. Well, Adam was a prophet also. In the second generation, when we're speaking about Cain and Abel, who was a prophet? With whom God spoke all the time? He spoke with Cain. Okay, he never spoke with Abel, he spoke with Cain. I know that it's a bit shocking because we all know that Abel is the Hevel. Okay, sorry, Hevel is the most righteous person, and he died and everything else. But God is speaking only with Cain. Look at the verses there. Here we see that Abel also is a prophet, and the prophecy that he's giving, that he is very upset or very annoyed that the generations of the world is going to be separated, and he have some sort of a dream that they will return back to become united, okay, like we do here in this class, okay, but all of the people from all over the places will sit down together and speak one with each other. So this is Abel. And then we have, after that, and let's go jump for a moment to the next chapter. We will have that, it is, when we're finishing almost the end of the chapter, that, please read verse number 27.
27, and these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot.
And verse number 28.
And Haran died during the lifetime of Terah, his father, in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldees.
Before we're going to read Rashi, first of all, we need to remember there are 3 sons. One of those 3 is supposed to continue on and to bring, I will say, the Messiah to the world, to bring this big wish, this big will to join everybody together, to unite everybody together. One of those 3 is going to bring it. Now we see that one of them is already dying in Ur Kasdim, okay, in all of the Chaldeans. Please use Rashi for that.
During the lifetime of Terah, his father, on the face of Terah, his father, during his father's lifetime. In the Midrash Agadah, in Genesis Rabbah 38:13, it tells us that he died on account of his father. For Terah complained about Abram, his son, before Nimrod for crushing his idols. So he, Nimrod, cast him, Abram, into a fiery furnace. And Haran sat and thought, if Abram is victorious, I'm on his side. And if Nimrod is victorious, I'm on his side. When Abram was saved, they said to Haran, whose side are you on? Haran said to them, I'm on Abram's side. They cast him into the fiery furnace, and he was burned. This is the meaning of the Hebrew word
Ur Kasdim, okay, the fire of the calmness. Okay, this is enough. What we see here that there are 3 sons, and one of them is Abraham, who is standing in front of the king of the world in those days, Nimrod. And we said this already, that there was a very big debate there. Who is your God? And Abraham said to him, the fire. So he said to him, okay, so obey to the fire. He said, no, but the water is shutting down the fire, so obey to the water. But the clouds are moving the water. We said all this chain. At the end, Nimrod was very upset, and he said to him, you know what? You said that you believe in God, that is, the more Almighty. Therefore, I'm going to throw you to the fire and let your God to come and rescue you. And Abraham came out from the fire. Okay, God took him out. And so think about this for a moment. For example, if we will go to the king of the world of today, okay, the most important person. Let's go, for example, to the president of the United States. And a young child there is going to debate him in front of all of the TVs and everything else, and he will win, the young child. It's a very big shame to the king of the world. So Haran said, I will go with Abraham, and Haran died. So we have here only two people. Okay? We have Lot, Nahor, and Abraham, three people, Lot, Nahor, and Abraham, as we see in verse number 27. Think for a moment about Nimrod, the one that was against God, who did a lot of things against God. He decided to do this Babylon tower. So Nimrod is very upset. I think that he had, we'll say it like that, he had some sort of a jealousy against Abraham, that he was supposed to show him back. You know, I will show him what's happening. After we saw that Abraham, between him and himself, him and his wife, managed to bring her to a situation where he's calling her my sister. He's taking his wife and he's very, very with her. And after everything that he had passed with Lot, and we see that Lot, I'm jumping up to the next chapter. We spoke about those things really recently in the last 2-3 weeks. Okay, after, so God is saying to him, go forth from your place or anything else, just let's hide this, it will help us. And Abraham is going there, and we saw already that Abraham says to Sarah, please say that you are my sister. So he's taking his wife and bringing her to the level, a very close level, one with each other. After that, they're passing all of everything that's happening in Pharaoh, in Egypt. And in the next chapter, we have all of the situation with Lot. Lot is also part of this dynasty, and the question is, who is going to continue, Abraham or Lot? And we saw that Abraham was much more moral behavior than Lot. He had a much more moral behavior, good behavior. Lot was robbering the people in Palestine in those days, okay? And there was a very big fight. But very important point, Abraham is not falling under the trap that had between Cain and Abel, when they have a quarrel between the herdsmen of Abraham's cattle and between the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. So this is a very, very important verse. Please read verse number 8.
8. And Abram said to Lot, please, let there be no quarrel between me and between you and between my herdsmen and between your herdsmen, for we are kinsmen.
When he's saying we are kinsmen, in Hebrew it says we anashim achim anachu, we are brothers. So I don't want to come to the situation that happened between Cain and Abel, even though we are similar one to each other. Okay, we are look-alike. By the way, it is this is what the Midrash is saying, that we are look-alike. It's important because in another moment I'm going to say a few words and everything will start to also to come in context. Awesome. Okay, so here Abraham is managing to go up one level and start to repair the evil, the bad things that Cain and Abel did. Even though we are brothers, we need to know to separate one from each other. Please read verse number 9.
9. Is not all the land before you? Please part from me. If you go left, I will go right. And if you go right, I will go left.
So let's separate one from each other. And we know, and this is also something we spoke last time, please read verse number 11.
11. And Lot chose for himself the entire plain of the Jordan. And Lot traveled from the east, and they parted from one another.
Fine. Please read verse number 13. I know that we are jumping, but we spoke about this last week.
13. And the people of Sodom were very evil and sinful against the Lord.
Okay. First of all, let's remember, it's against the Lord, against God. Okay. I don't know if you know about Sodom, what our sages are saying. I will say this in few words. I will say the few stories, okay? Few small stories that our sages are bringing and saying. Basically, those people had some sort of a paradise. They had there a lot of fruits and a lot of good things. It was a very good place to live, but they didn't want to give to anybody else from their goodness. Okay, so if there was someone, for example, poor came to their place, and he didn't have money or something like that, everybody gave him a coin. But on the coin, it was also with the name of the one who gave them the coin. Okay, so each one of them gave a coin with his name on the coin. Now, when they tried, this poor man tried to go and to buy food or something like that, nobody sold him because they saw that those are the unique coins that each one of them knew already that it's something that they don't want to bargain with those coins until he died. After he died, everybody came and took back their coins back. So they didn't have any goodness to poor people, okay? And there are stories like that about Sodom and Gomorrah. What is happening? The main thing is, one of the things that it's also very badness against people one to each other, fair enough, and Lot is deciding to live there. Abraham, we understand that Abraham came to another stage, or he managed to pass on another test. Instead of killing his nephew, he managed to separate from his nephew. Fine. Now Abraham's supposed to move to another test. And this test is, does he know where, even though his nephew behaved not in the right way, even though his nephew went to live with a very bad people and all those things, does he know how to try to fight even for the evil? Let's look now. All of this was only, I will say,
preliminary, yes.
Preliminary, but it was also summarized. Okay, but now let's read for a moment verses 1, 2, and 3 of chapter 14, please.
1. Now it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, the king of Shinar, Arioch, the king of Elasar, and Hedorlamer, the king of Elam, and Title, the king of Goyim, that they waged war with Bera, the king of Sodom, and with Bersha, the king of Gomorrah, Sheneab, the king of Admah, and Shemeber, the king of Zebolim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these joined in the valley of Siddim, which is the Dead Sea.
Fine. There are a few things here. As you all already know me, and you know what's happening here in the Bible, each name have a meaning. Remember that?
Right.
In a moment, I'm going to expose the meaning of those names. But before that, I want to mention that this is the first time that we have a war in this world. But it's not only a small war, it's a war, 4 kings against 5 kings. So we're speaking about a world war that is happening here in the land of Israel. Let's try to expose exactly what is happening here. Why do we have a war? And for who they're looking for? Who is the person that they're trying to hunt, to kill? Okay, what do you say, Olo? I'm going to surprise you. So let's see for a moment. The Rashi will explain a bit the names. Okay? Amraphel. Please read Rashi.
Amraphel. This is Nimrod, who said to Abraham, fall into the fiery furnace. Okay, the king of Goyim.
Amraphel basically is Nimrod. Nimrod, who sent Abraham to the fire. Nimrod, we know, is against God already. He did it already once. Fine. Who is the king of Goyim?
King of Goyim. There is a place named Goyim because people from many nations and places assembled there, and they crowned over them a man named Title from Genesis Rabbi 42:4.
Okay, so this is the place. Goyim is nations, and this is a place they all nominated him to become their king. Okay, I can go inside a bit more also to those words, to those understanding. I will jump this for a moment, and let's see for the next Rashi that is explaining what is Bera, what is Birsha, what is Shin Eb, and what is Shem Eber, and what is Bela. Please.
Bera, he was evil to heaven and evil to people. Birsha, he was elevated in wickedness. Sheneb, he hated his father in heaven. Shemeber, he made wings to fly and to spring and to rebel against the Holy One, blessed be he. And Bela is the name of the city.
So fine, we see that there is a group of people here that are very bad, not only to God, but also to people, okay? And they hated God, and they tried everything against God. So we have here a battle between people that, Nimrod, that is against God, and we have here the 5 kings, okay, that are against also not only God, but also after the, I will say, men and his fellow men. Those are the people of Sodomite that I explained before, how much they are against also the relationship with others who are not from their people, I will say like that. Now, again, just like we saw a few minutes ago, that when we have some sort of a value that God's supposed to decide between those 2 groups, who is the most horrible one, therefore he will lose the battle. If there is a debate between someone who is behaving inappropriate between men and God, but there's also someone else who's behaving inappropriate between men and his fellow men, so the one that is behaving inappropriate between men and his fellow men, he will lose, because again, God can give a less strict with himself, but in this world, it's very important to behave correctly between men and his fellow men. And this is why we have in verse number 3 that they are all joined to the Dead Sea, okay? And we're speaking here about a moment of time. I won't go inside to this issue of time. And please read verses number 8, 9, and
Not the Rashi, just the verses.
Without Rashi. I will close Rashi for one, and we'll read few verses. We need to read verses from 8 till 12, please.
8. And the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zebolim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar, came forth, and they engaged them in battle in the valley of Siddim, with Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and Title, the king of Goim, and Amraphel, the king of Shinar, and Arioch, the king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim was compassed of many clay pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and they all fled there. And the survivors fled to a mountain, and they took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and they departed. And they took Lot and his possessions and the sons of Abram's brother, and they departed, and he was living in Sodom.
So first of all, everything happened to him because he was living in Sodom. He decided to go to this bad place. Let's not forget that. On the other side, if we say, and we said it a few minutes ago, that Lot and Abraham are look-alike, they're similar one to each other. Let's not forget that from Lot, the dynasty at the end, okay, the dynasty of the King David and King Solomon will come. So we're speaking about the Messiah will come from Lot. So Lot have some sort of a very important thing. Let's remember Nimrod, the one that Amraphel, okay, the word Amraphel is in 2 words in Hebrew. Amar, oh, he said to him, fall inside to the fire. Nimrod wanted to revenge Abraham, and suddenly he heard that Abraham is living there in this area, and he sees suddenly that he have also Lot. He doesn't know that Lot is not Abraham, Abraham is not, for him it's similar, it's more or less the same. We said already, they are very similar one to each other. So he was sure that he took Abraham, and that's it. He is managing to revenge the big shaming that he had a few years ago. Suddenly he managed. So we see here that the four kings were much more strong than the 5 kings, and they managed to defeat them. And it's very important also to know in what you said, what you read in verse number 10, that one of the things that they did on the way to the battle, those 4 kings, they built up a lot of holes, okay, that people will fall down there. And when people went there, they really fell down inside inside those holes and died, except for one person, the king of Sodomite. So please, let's read for a moment in Rashi in verse number 10. I'm opening Rashi in verse number 10 and see for a moment what is hinted here inside this story. First one, okay? The first one.
Many clay pits. There were many pits from which they took earth for the clay for building. From the Midrashic explanation is that the clay was needed in them, and the miracle was wrought for the king of Sodom that he escaped from there, because some of the nations did not believe that Abram had been saved from Ur of the Chaldees from the fiery furnace. But since this one escaped from the clay, they believed in Abram retroactively.
Okay, so we're speaking retroactively, they believed in Abraham, in the miracle that Abraham had, that he was fallen down inside the fire and that he was rescued, because they said, okay, we see that something like that can happen. Fine. Now we came to the most important verse here, or one of the most important verses here, and it says like that. Please read verse number 13. You said it before.
13, and the fugitive came and he told Abram the Hebrew, and he was living in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and the brother of Aner, who were Abram's confederates.
Fine. And this is the first time that we're speaking about Abraham the Hebrew. The first time that we say that Abraham is a Hebrew man. Why do we need to say that? Because when Abraham, read for a moment verse number 14, and then I will say to you.
And Abram heard that his kinsmen had been taken captive, and he armed his trained men, those born in his house, 318, and he pursued them until Dan.
The first thing we say here, again, the word kinsmen, in Hebrew it says achiv. In the chapter before that, there was a big fight between Abraham's and Lot's shepherds. There was also a fight between Abraham and Lot. They decided to move on from each other. Abraham was very frustrated that Lot did a lot of robbery, okay? And all of those things, Abraham forgot on the spot when the refugee came to him and said to him, Lot got captured in the war. So Abraham, on the spot, remembered only one thing. He is my brother. Even though I had a fight with him, even though I didn't accept his behavior and everything else, even though he went to the bad people of Sodomite, and because of that he got captured. Abraham had all the excuses not to go into help his nephew, but he decided on the spot to say to himself, wait, he is my brother. I must help him. I can't stay from the side and say to myself, okay, never mind, something there left and that's it. Because of that, this is why he is being called Abraham, okay, the Hebrew, Abraham Ivri, Abraham the Hebrew, because he is behaving as a Hebrew man to his family. And this is a very interesting test that he's passing. Now, who is this refugee? Please read for a moment Rashi so we will understand who is this refugee. It's very
and the fugitive came. According to its simple meaning, this was Og, who escaped from the battle, and that is what is referred to in Deuteronomy 3:11. Only Og survived from the rest of the Rephaim, and that is the meaning of survived, that Araphel and his allies did not kill him when they smote the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim. The Midrash in Genesis Rabbah explains this is Og who escaped from the generation of the flood, and this is the meaning of from the rest of the Rephaim, as it is said above in 6:4. The Nephilim were on the earth, and he intended that Abram should be killed, and he would marry Sarah.
So we have here two things. First of all, this is a person who got refuged. He got a
fugitive.
He got a rescued. Yes, fugitive, rescued from the flood. He's the only one in behind the scenes. It's not something that is written down loud and clear and very, that everybody can see that. But he got rescued from the flood, even though he was in the flood time. And he had some sort of a very interesting intent. He was sure that Abraham will get killed in this battle, and he will marry Sarah. Sarah, again, is the womb of the continuous, of the, what we call the dynasty of Shem and Abel, who are going to rescue the world, okay, bring the Messiah. So Og wanted to be the one that will continue on with Sarah. Okay, it didn't manage to him. Okay, we will see him the next time. But what we need to understand that all the time we see that people are trying to capture, to take, okay, the woman's side of the Hebrew people to continue on the dynasty of Abel. Now let's say a few words about the word Abel. I said that Abel is moving from one side to another side. Okay, over. Moving on. Abel is also from the other side of everybody is from one side of the world, Abel is the other side. Abel also is containing the word Ubar. Ubar is the baby inside the womb of his mother. Okay, so we have here someone, Abraham, that is he is like in the womb of his mother. He is something that will raise up to become a big nation. This is the word Abel. So, and also, it's also from the word moving others. Okay? It's not only moving himself, moving others. He is the only one who will have the possibility to move the whole world to become united. The 5 kings and the 4 kings, they have no chance of living together without Abraham, that will manage to bring them to the situation, to another level, to understand that they can live together. They are fighting one with each other. Abraham have the possibility of doing those things. And this is what Abraham is doing. He understands that his brother, Lot, even though he had a lot of fight with him, he didn't agree with him with a lot of things and everything else, he understands that, and therefore he is going and starting to run until just to realize the situation. It's like moving something like 300 kilometers between those two places where Abraham lives and where he managed to catch them. The Midrash is saying that he had a very big assistance of God and he did it very fast. It's reminding a bit like the 6-day war. You know, in 6 days, everything changed. All the world changed. Till today, all the world is not in the same thing, because we have, the Hebrew people came back to their homeland, but also to the places of the Bible, not only to the places of the shore. If you know a bit how the map of Israel is working. So let's read for a moment another. Just a moment. I will close Rashi because I don't want it to interfere us now. So he took 318 of his allies. Please read verses number 15 and 16.
15, and he divided himself against them at night, he and his servants, and they smote them and pursued them until Hobah, which is to the left of Damascus. And he restored all the possessions, and also Lot, his brother, and his possessions he restored, and also the women and the people.
So Abraham here, I will say, is managing to become a very, very unique person that is managing, they had a fight, 5 kings against 4 kings, and the 4 kings defeated the 5 kings. Now Abraham is going against those 4 kings by himself with a few people, and he's managing against them. So they are the strong side, even though he is managing very fast. At the middle of the night already, he finished everything. And now we find something very unique. I want to remind us all, in those days, the one who won the battle that it was, he basically won all of the people and all of the possessors that they had there. Suddenly, look at this naughty king, this amazing, we say in Hebrew, Chatuf, king of Sodom. Please read verse number 17.
17, and the king of Sodom came out toward him after his return from smiting Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him to the Valley of Shiva, which is the Valley of the King.
Please read verse number 21. In a moment, we must go back to those verses I'm skipping now, but please read verse number 21.
And the king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the souls and the possessions, take for yourself.
He is a very, we say in Hebrew, Chatzuf, he is a very naughty person. Who are you? You lost the battle. Abraham managed to have everything. Now, I want to say something very important because it will help us later on in chapter 18, okay? Abraham is a person who is usually taking people and putting them under the guidance of God. We spoke about this more than once. He had a lot of people like that. Here, look what Abraham is answering him in verse number 22 and 23, please.
I'm sorry, Rabbi, I was responding to something like verse
22 and 23. Look, the answer of Abraham after the king of Sodom is saying to Sodom.
22, and Abram said to the king of Sodom, I raise my hand to the Lord, the Most High God, who possesses heaven and earth. Neither from a thread to a shoe strap, nor will I take from whatever is yours, that you should not say, I have made Abram wealthy.
So he is giving back to the king of Sodom all of the people there. Now, we know that the people of Sodom and Amorah were very, very bad people against men and their fellow men and men and God. Now we're starting to realize why Abraham felt responsibility when God is saying to him, I'm going to wipe off all Sodom and Amorah. And then Abraham is fighting and praying and asking God to forgive them and everything else because he's feeling responsibility. If he would say here, no, they are my people, I managed to capture them and everything else, maybe they would have been behaving differently in a better way, because Abraham would have been, I will say, educating them to the right way. But Abraham here very fast is saying, no, it's not, it's yours, take everything, I don't want anything from you. So this is something that we need to realize that is happening. But there's another very important thing that is happening here, and with this we will close this thing. Let's read for a moment what is the meaning of that to the Valley of Shiva, okay, which is the Valley of the King. Let's understand for this for a moment, and then let's open Rashi. I'm sorry. Please read. What is the Valley of Shiva?
The Valley of Shiva, its name.
Sorry. Read the second Rashi. I'm sorry.
The Valley of the King. Onkelos renders the king's race course. One race course was 30 rods long, which was designated for the king to play there. The Midrash Agadah, however, explains that it was a valley where the nations concurred and crowned Abram over them as a prince of God and as an officer.
Okay, this is the Midrash Agadah is the most important. Okay, here, I won't go inside to the other things. Here is the place where everybody starts to understand that Abraham is one step above them, and he is a king that will manage to reunite them back. Let's see for a moment what is happening in verse number 18, 19, and 20. Please read those verses, and then we will explain this with Rashi.
Forgive me, I'm still typing with people online. Which verse, Rabbi?
Verses 18, 19, and 20 without Rashi. Read only the verses.
And Melchizedek, the king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was a priest to the Most High God. And he blessed him, and he said, Blessed be Abram to the Most High God, who possesses heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, who has delivered your adversaries into your hand. And he gave him a tithe from all. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the souls, which we already read.
We saw that, okay? So here we're speaking about someone whose name is Melchizedek, the king of Shalom. Who is this Melchizedek? Please read Rashi for a moment. The Midrash Haggadah is saying that, states that he was Shem, the son of Noah. Interesting. The name is Melchizedek. Melchizedek is the king of the righteoushood. And he is basically Shem, the son of Noah. Shem is the forefather of Abraham, 10 generations above Abraham. And here, suddenly, Shem is going out, and he's saying to him something very important. He took out bread and wine. Look, things are very, very old here. We're speaking about almost 4,000 years ago. Please read Rashi for a moment. What is bread and wine?
Bread and wine. This is done for those weary from battle, and he, Melchizedek, demonstrated that he bore no grudge against him for slaying his sons. And according to the Midrash Haggadah, Genesis Rabbah 43:6, he hinted to him about the meal offerings and the libations which Abram's children, would offer up there.
Fine, because we're speaking about Jerusalem. Melchizedek, Melech Shalem. Shalem is Jerusalem. Salem, okay? And Melchizedek basically was the king of Shalem. He was the prince, okay? Not the prince, how do you call it? Yes, the priest, sorry, of the Most High God. He was the son of Noah. And he blessed Abraham. And he said to Abraham, okay, that he blessed Abraham and he blessed God, basically. But he blessed Abraham before he blessed God. And Abraham is giving him part of a portion, or we say in Hebrew, ma'aser, part, it's a 10% of everything that he conquered from this battle. Our sages are saying that here, basically, Shem is nominating Abraham to become the most highest priest for all of the nations, all of his sons. This is basically what is happening in those 3 chapters. Shem is saying to him, you, Abraham, is being blessed. And God is putting you to become the high priest for all of the nations. And you are the one who is have the possibility to reunite all of the people together to become one, I will say, one family or few families, but that are living together in a very nice way here in this world. So now we started to see, I will say, this chapter. It's not a simple chapter. Okay, it's a story, but the story, we're starting to see the story with more understanding. First of all, this is another test for Abraham. After he got separated from Lot, after he was angry about the behavior of Lot, God said to himself that he have permission to do robbery, that he went to bad people, to people that are very against God in Sodom and everything else. When Abraham heard that his brother got captured, he didn't have any fear and he went to help him. And he also basically is trying to say here, Abraham, there is a different way. And if someone is behaving in the wrong way, I will know how to fight against it, even though I'm a very nice person. And this is also the place where people started to see, or the kingdoms or the kings in the area started to see that Abraham is one step ahead, above them, with his understanding of the relationship between men and his fellow men, and how we are supposed to behave one to each other. Also, we call this in Hebrew pidyon shvuim, to rescue people that that fell or that others captured them. There is a real story. Okay, one of my neighbors here, house next to me, he is the head of the council of a very big region here in this area. And as you know, we have people from Ethiopia who came here to Israel after a lot of 3,000 years of disconnections between us, and they came back here. And one of in another neighborhood went to him and said to him, you know, I have two sisters. I have a sister that got stuck there, and we want to bring her to Israel. A long story too short. The only thing I want to say that there was a very big problem there because she had grandchildren in Nigeria, and they rescued those grandchildren from Nigeria. And there was, at the end, there was a very big problem because in Nigeria, the children are, it's like the possessors of their father. So when the representative of our region came to the Nigerian ambassador in Ethiopia and said to him, I want to rescue those two kids, he heard that he is a Jewish person, Hebrew person, I'll say it like that, that he came from Israel. And he said to him, listen, you are an amazing nation. Every person in your nation is so important for you. You're doing everything for them. I will help you. And he brought a very important people and everything else. And he did, for a few days, he did a lot of efforts. And those kids are here today next to us. Okay, that they managed to rescue them from Nigeria, even though the truth is that in the laws of Nigeria, they were supposed to stay there. But this is one of the things that we're saying, what we call pidyon shvuim, to rescue the people that are captured in lost places, under other people. And this is something that we started to learn also already from Abraham here, even though Abraham had a lot of reasons why not to help his brother. So it's another test that Abraham is passing, and suddenly we see inside the scripture of the Bible that he is being called Abraham HaIvri, okay? Abraham, the Hebrew man, because he is managing to move step after step after step, as we saw, how to become a full person who is feeling responsible to, as much as possible, to more and more people in this world. I spoke for more than an hour. This is the time I'm going to stop. And people, you have now time to ask questions, whatever you want to do. It's your time now. I know,